So then the vessels have burst. Yeah, and it'll heal. And as long as you don't keep rubbing it or putting other pressure on it, it'll heal. If it doesn't, you'll begin to know because your eye will get, sore and stuff like that. For the most part, it tends to just go on and heal. Usually, and at your age, young, probably not long at all. Probably within 24 hours. Yeah. Now, these proteins, because we're going to have more. Do you all remember when we were talking in the endocrine system how the hormones needed a protein to travel in the blood? Okay, that's another type of protein that we're going to find in the blood. So the plasma proteins that will be present, they're going to be important for clotting, for example, the fibrinogen, immune defenses, antibodies, for example, transportation, globulins, okay? And the way that I think about that is I always think about goblins, because, little ghost goblins tend to fly around, okay? So in my blood, I've got little globulins, little globes, that literally move around, fly around in the blood, and they help with transportation. So the major categories of these proteins, we're going to find we have albumins, the little globulins, and our fibrinogen, because we're going to need them for clotting, immune defense, travel, and my fibrinogen. So they're put into these three categories, and they're moving around in the blood. The albumins are the smallest. There's a bunch of them. Their job, transport some of our solutes, help buffer the pH of the blood. They're also going to contribute to viscosity. What is that? Viscous. Have you ever heard of that?
Like the thickness?
The thickness. How sticky something might be. What? Sticky? In my blood vessels? Huh. What? All right, real quick. Think about this. Blood leaves the heart to be transported to the body, to the tissues, to the cells. It then has to return to the heart. Works against gravity. So yeah, viscous becomes important. We'll be getting more into that. And then my osmolarity, the osmoles. Basically, an albumin, because it keeps its property, is 1 osmole. Does that make sense? And if I have 20 of them out of a liter, I have 0.02? Does that make sense? Say it again. If I have 20 of them in a liter, I have 0.002 milliosmoles. Does that make sense? Our little globulins, they're based on their molecular weight. We have alpha, beta, gamma. Alpha, beta are from the liver. Gamma are from plasma cells that come into play with my B lymphocytes, which is the immune system. Their job, help with transportation, for example, the hormones. Help with clotting and immunity becomes very important. And then our fibrinogen, which we've mentioned, helps to give rise to a clot. The viscosity and osmolarity of the blood becomes important. How many of you in here would say you get your recommended amount of water per day? Very few of us. Okay? Do you know why it's important to get that water per day? Blood is roughly 70 to 70, well, probably about 60% more or more water. That's good, because if it has all of these parts and pieces, the more fluid it is, the easier it moves. And the easier the pumping of it is on the heart. If it's thick and not moving as easily, it puts strain on the heart. So getting the amount of water per day is important. And note I'm saying water. Not soda, not tea, not coffee. Not energy drink, not Gatorade, not Powerade, protein drinks.
Is that why they say that it's recommended that you drink a glass of water before going to sleep at night?
And drinking 2 when you get up in the morning.
So why do you drink one at night?
Huh?
Why do you drink one at night? Like before you go to bed?
Okay. One of the things that's going to happen when you go to sleep with your body, when you go to sleep and you're in your deep sleep and the body's vitals get to slow down, this is the point that cells get to do a lot of work and cells get to repair. That means we need nutrients to get to them. Blood thicker, slower flow. More fluid, quicker flow. And then when we get up in the mornings, we need that blood to get to the tissues and the organs and the cells that we need to be working. So drinking the water in the morning becomes very important, because viscosity is that thickness. So if we have a blood vessel, which is simply a tube, okay? Our blood vessels are simply a tube. Viscosity, the thickness, okay? If it's very thick, flow is going to be slow, all right? There's going to be a lot of resistance to that flow. So we see that blood is more viscous than water, okay? About 4 to 5 times more viscous. And we all know water flows pretty freely, okay? But 4 to 5 times more viscous than the body, that's pretty viscous, okay, for our body, the vessels that we have. So one of the things that viscosity is going to do, it will partially govern the flow. Meaning, control the flow. So The more viscous, the harder the flow. The less viscous, the better the flow. Okay? When the flow is sluggish and the viscosity is high, is very thick, when I say it puts a strain on the heart, it puts a huge strain on the heart. Osmolarity, once again, let's go back to what it is. It's telling me something about the makeup of those pieces that are in the blood. In other words, a whole glucose. But now, at any point in time, just one of those, I don't have just one. I mean, my body would probably do better and pull from the fat cells and kind of make the, anyway, so, but we probably need a good amount, those glucoses moving around, especially the more busy you are, okay? Well, if I have a whole bunch of them, what do you think that does to the fluidity of the blood? Yeah, it would be like, oh, wait a minute, I got a whole bunch in here, so I'm going to get, it's going to be a little heavy, so to speak. But glucose is not the only one I have to deal with. I have to deal with a lot of pieces and parts. So we're looking at the case of these pieces. We want some of them to be able to move into a cell. For example, glucose, sodium, chlorine, all right? But then I need some of those pieces to be big enough that they don't move out of the bloodstream. For example, my globulins that are going to transport my hormones. I don't want the globulin to move out of the bloodstream. I want it to stay there and drop off the hormone. Does that make sense? So we have a lot of that moving around in our blood. The other part about osmolarity. Osmolarity affects the movement of water. Now that gets a little more, what? Okay. Osmosis. What is it?
The movement of water between an area of high concentration, low concentration, high concentration.
Well, high to low.
Yeah.
If you remember, diffusion is movement of a particle from high to low. Osmosis is diffusion of water from an area of high concentration to low concentration across a selectively permeable membrane. So let's look at the situation that we have in our body. Okay. Blood vessel, all right, found in a tissue. The tissue is made up of cells. Is everybody with me? All right, so in my bloodstream, I've got a lot of stuff. I've got my red blood cells, white blood cells. I've got all my little